Hey everyone, the name is Eric Dorn. In today's video we will be wrestling the ENFP and their biggest mistakes. The biggest mistakes ENFPs will or can make throughout their life. And to know why these things are mistakes, you have to know what it means to be an ENFP. An ENFP is an extrovert, not an outgoing person per se, not a person that is driven by what everyone else thinks. An extrovert is a person that orients themselves from outwards in, from things happening around them, from things they've heard, said, seen, observed. They study their environments, they make connections between things happening around them. They draw dots and lines, they investigate, they see where things are leading, they see why people did what they did, they study how their environment is changing, they form algorithms and patterns and theories on how the world is working, and as they observe it, they make theories about what's going to happen next. ENFPs are typically intuitives, which means they have a certain range of interests, typically intellectual interests that drive them to engage in new fields, new ways of thinking, novelty, and all kinds of abstract and theoretical fields. Intuition for them is typically a creative exercise and an exercise in making connections and spotting new possibilities. ENFP types are types that are typically promoters. They tend to be people that have clear ideas about what they like and dislike, what they find beautiful and ugly. They have lists on Pinterest, ideas, and they have data of what they find good and what they find bad. They are good at evaluating and making giving immediate impressions on what they find pleasant and what they find unpleasant. Finally, ENFPs at their best are people that are highly virtuous, strong characters, strongly individualistic. They are people that tend to gain influence from just being who they are, from being often virtuous people, brave people, courageous, or from having or showing a strength of virtue and character and strength of personal ethics. Now, based on this, any mistake is to act outside of this. It is a mistake when the ENFP sets aside their ethics and their strength of character, shuts down and pacifies their feeling and perceiving to fit in. It is a problem when the ENFP shuts down just as well their extroversion and their intuition in order to be more normal or to adjust and to be like everyone else. It is equally a problem when the ENFP shuts down their extroversion and their feeling. This is when the ENFP shuts down what they like and what they appreciate to instead focus on what other people like and what other people appreciate and think is good. Finally, it's just as much a mistake when an ENFP decides to shut down their ability to see different opportunities and new potential to instead adjust to and to adhere to a system or a set of norms or an outside authority. Not to be harsh or anything, it happens, we all do it, we all second guess ourselves, and I think the biggest reason we do is we have a tendency to observe other people. We see other people, we see ISTJs, we see INFJs, we see INTPs, and we see them do all kinds of things. And then we want to try it out, and we see that they become happy when they do it, and then we expect that we will also become happy if we do it. We think to ourselves, oh, if I'm just a little more like that, or oh, if I just do that, well, then I will be happier, because they become happier that way. But typically that's not how it works, and that is why we tend to engage in aggressive or self-destructive behavior. Because we have a clear idea, often we do have a clear idea if we ask ourselves the truth. We have a clear idea of who we are and what we want to do next. I believe if you want to know yourself, all you have to do is ask yourself what it is you love, what it is you find interesting, what it is you find important. And you will notice in all kinds of situations, you'll find this sense of feeling of no, this is not how it should be. You will find in you this sense of this, I don't like that. You'll find inside of you this feeling of hey, that's very nice, I like that. You'll find yourself drawn to things, you'll find yourself interested in things. And I see a lot of Enneagram 4 ENFPs, and I think what I notice the most about these ENFPs is I see a lot of Enneagram 4 ENFPs, and what I notice the most in them is they tend to, and all fours do this, romanticize who they used to be. Romanticize an old relationship or an old past version of yourself. And I think a lot of us do this. We look at who we used to be in the past and then we say, this is me. And the Enneagram 4 ENFPs, they get very attached to themselves, and this keeps them from exploring their new self, their new emerging self. And we all have a new emerging self. None of us retain the exact same interests and passions and opinions throughout our life. Most of the self is transformative. And that means that we grow in our interests, we move, and we jump from platform to platform. And what I see with ENFPs is an attachment to wanting to preserve or maintain that old platform. It's that ENFPs notice over time that they have jumped a lot in interests. They've changed their interest a lot, and this is the typical EN process. The EN process is all about spotting new opportunities, seeing new potential, and catalyzing it and starting up this process. But the ENFP starts to feel a little insecure about this, and it happens frequently. Like ENFPs realize that I've had a lot of interests throughout the past, and which interest was really me? What if I'm just jumping from interest to interest without any pattern? What I notice with ENFPs, however, is there is a pattern. There is a very, very clear pattern to their actions and what they do. It might seem random at first, but if you put down every single change and if you start listening through, you start notice that it's all converging at one point. It's all bouncing around one center. And I think when you get older as an ENFP, you get to notice this center more and more. You will never truly know exactly what that center is. But it's like filling out a map, when you drew lines between numbers. Eventually it all starts to come together, but in the beginning it looks completely random. And for contrast, let's look at ENFP 7, and because this ENFP 7 really suffers from the reverse issue compared to the ENFP 4. The ENFP 7 is always exploring something new. They're always going for something new. They're always studying something up. They're always engaging in this process of hopping onto new interests. And typically the ENFP 7 feels a distinct lack of roots, a distinct lack of a center. And this center point is really important to have. Every one of us needs a center, and it's important to recognize that extroverts get their center differently than introverts. ENFPs that go too far into theory and into speculation and into various ideas that they can't test out or explore in the moment will typically tend to feel a little unsettled by this. ENFPs can find themselves thinking up possibility from possibility to possibility, but if they are not able to discuss these possibilities with other people, if they're not able to share and to test and to try out and to see if it sticks, they will commonly feel a loss of this center, a loss of this stability that we all need to feel a sense of control over who we are and a rationality in who we act and why we do what we do. And so the ENFP 7 struggles to know and understand their own actions. Why did I do that? Why did I jump for that? Why did this happen? And this is NI. This is the influence of unconscious NI on the ENFP. NI has a very, very strong influence on the ENFP. The ENFP does not necessarily recognize or understand the process, but the ENFP is always handling and dealing with NI. Introvert intuition is always an unconscious process guiding the ENFP forward, getting them to try out new things and to consider different angles that they hadn't tried out before. But if this NI process is not balanced out by your own intuition and your own extroversion, if it's not tested out, that can create a sense of looseness in self, because to an ENFP, NI theory just feels like mumbo jumbo to some extent. It all feels like just a poofy cloud atop of your head if you can't turn it into some kind of practical pattern, something you can do in your personal life situation. Anyways, I hope that explains why you can be an ENFP and a big nerd. Because you can. Now, the underrated enneagram for the ENFP is the Enneagram 8, and I think it's not typically noticed because it's not necessarily so that the ENFP is interested in status as an 8, but they are all about exercising their influence, being an influential person, having an impact on your environment, and standing up for yourself. That typically is what triggers the ENFP 8. The ENFP 8 is all about standing up for their individual person and their own integrity. Now, the problem with the ENFP 8 is also similar to the 7 in the sense that they don't feel a strong sense of center. And because they don't feel in tune with themselves, they tend to some extent, feel a sense of unrest or hostility. Yes, the ENFP 8 is typically a person that has a weak sense of roots, or has abandoned their roots to pursue a career or to pursue success or to achieve some kind of objective, and that's often to become a stronger person or to become more virtuous or to express your ethics and your beliefs in some way. And the ENFPs I know in 8, they tend to mention that they've had this experience that where they eventually found themselves having gone into a career and gotten really far and gotten high ahead, and then they start realizing they miss their roots, they miss their home, their family, like everything they put aside as they were working towards this. And they start realizing, my God, I need this. Like, I need this. I need to have family. I need to have security. I need to have a home. I need to have a place where I feel comfortable. And the ENFP 8 is typically very detached from this comfort zone. The ENFP 8 is the most prone to going outside their own comfort zone and to challenging themselves and to going into often an area that ENFP hates. And that's the thing with the ENFP 8. They go into these high sensing environments and industries where everything is about appearance and clothes and physical issues and superficiality, and they hate it there, but they are still so intent on working and becoming there and succeeding there and accomplishing something there, and eventually they realize, what the hell am I doing here? And it becomes like this wake-up call where they kind of go from this 8 tendency into kind of coming back home, or to creating a home, or to going somewhere where they feel better about themselves and where they can relax and be themselves, and where it's not always about competition and winning and challenge and standing atop. And it's all the case that I've only discussed a few of the common ENFP mistakes here, the ones that I've seen the most in the ENFPs I know. What would you say is the biggest mistake you made as an ENFP? What would you say you did as a kid or as a teenager or earlier in your life that you wished you didn't? And what mistake are you about to do now? What mistake are you about to embark on now? I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. Do it. I mean, go be an 8. Go accomplish something. Go be this person. Go explore. Go test out. Go outside your comfort zone. It's all good. You can always come back to yourself whenever you want to. You can always test yourself as much as you like to, and I think a lot of ENFPs like to test themselves. They don't like to be the same person forever. They like to change. They like to try out new things. They do and will eventually come to see themselves from newer angles, always having something fresh to process in themselves. To make mistakes is to be alive. To be an ENFP is to be awesome. What you love, what you enjoy, what your passion is awesome. Don't doubt that in yourself. Don't stop yourself from being who you are. Find flow eventually. Find balance eventually. As soon as you're ready, face it.